British Foreign Secretary David Miliband met with His Highness the Aga Khan in London. He was visiting the United Kingdom to mark the 50th anniversary of becoming the Imam of the Shia Ismaili Muslims. Later, Mr Miliband was in Parliament for a House of Commons debate on Zimbabwe.
Our goal is simple. It is to ensure that the government of Zimbabwe reflects the will of the people of Zimbabwe. This is not about Britain versus Zimbabwe, still less about establishing a new British government in Zimbabwe, but instead about a Zimbabwean government that delivers for its own people. The opposition have recognised the need for a broad-based government. They have called for the formation of a transitional government, recognising the unique political circumstances that now exist. For that government to be credible, it must be based on the outcome of the 29th of March election. And to address directly the point that the Honourable Gentleman has raised, whatever its final composition of that transitional government, Robert Mugabe cannot be in control of that government. Mr. Speaker, it's well known that over the last decade, Robert Mugabe has brought Zimbabwe to its knees. Its economy lies in crisis. And now, as a result of the failure to establish a proper second round of the election, politically it is in limbo. Zimbabwe's people suffer from violence, intimidation and hunger. The Mugabe government has destroyed the basic infrastructure of the country. Schools and hospitals are barely functioning.
The opposition Conservative Party in the UK broadly support the government's stand on this.
Indeed, we are united in this House in our horror that over the last decade the world has witnessed the Mugabe's regime's relentless abuse of the Zimbabwean people and the systematic destruction of their country. The humanitarian crisis there is probably the worst anywhere in the world outside a war zone. And as we know, 1 in 4 Zimbabweans have become refugees. Those who remain are at the mercy of a regime which beats and kills and tortures with impunity. Allowing Mugabe to cling to power is to consign the people of Zimbabwe to years, possibly, of further depredation and hopelessness.
Outside the Commons, Foreign Office Minister Lord Mark Malloch Brown addressed African Business Forum 2008 and reflected on the recent African Union summit.
Everybody in Africa recognises that this country has increasingly become a reputational risk to the region as a whole, that what counted as an election Friday a week ago just doesn't pass the test of anybody's standard of fairness or reasonableness. The idea that you can beat your opponents into submission, force them off the ballot, or at least off the campaigning for the election, lock them up repeatedly during the campaign, do the extraordinarily violent things that were done to supporters of the MDC, and then somehow come to an AU meeting and declare yourself able to sit down with your fellow presidents as somehow equally legitimate with all of them. I mean, this is the kind of action which brings disrepute unfairly on the whole region. And I think it is incumbent on all of us to show that we just won't allow it to continue. And obviously, the private sector will inevitably be affected by steps likely to be taken in the EU, at the UN, by the G8, to increase the economic pressure on the illegitimate regime in Zimbabwe.
UK politicians from all sides are united in their condemnation of the Mugabe regime, and together with African business and political leaders are showing their concern for the future of Zimbabwe.
Of the situation, highlighting the fact that MDGs will not be attained within